for a second. All right. Hello, everybody. This is Michael Goldberg. Yes, it's Thursday. I normally show up on Tuesdays, but Tuesday's different. I've got a brand new show I'm launching. It's called Talk Talent to Me. And each week I'll be hosting a job candidate that's an excellent candidate, and we need to get that person hired. And today I am blessed to have Brian Howard join me on the line. Brian hails to us from the great state of Texas. I believe also we'll narrow it down a little bit. He lives in the DFW area. Is that right?
You bet.
All right. So welcome to the show. First off, how are you?
Doing great. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. So people are wondering, all right, so is this like your job seeker journey show that you used to host back in the summer? Yes, but I normally have like 2 or 3 people on at a time. That was a lot harder. I figure if I can get a guest a week to show up on a Thursday or a Friday when we do this show. But the goal is to really put the focus in on the job seeker, him or herself, right? Let's help get talent hired, because there's still a lot of good talent out there looking. Just because someone is unemployed doesn't mean that they're not a hard worker, that they're not successful at what they do, right? COVID did a pretty nasty trick to everybody, right? And so talent, both good and maybe wasn't, and was underperforming, were let go for one reason or another. So this is somebody that I really have a lot of respect for. I talked with him. I talked with Brian when we talked. Was it last Wednesday, I think?
Yeah, last week, midweek sometime, yeah.
Yeah, and just after talking to him, I want to show off his talent. So if any recruiters are looking for some excellent talent, or salespeople, or sales leader, I should say, Brian Howard's your guy. This is the guy to talk with, right? And so Brian, why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about yourself? Kind of just give us that 2 to 3 minute ride up, if you will.
Okay, great. Well, thanks so much for having me, and thanks everybody for listening in. So I am in the Grapevine, Texas area. I'm just north of the DFW airport, so I'm right in between Dallas and Fort Worth. I've been in sales leadership for greater than 16 years in the tech and the software and the SaaS space. I have a real passion to help customers, and I really like to teach sales teams as their manager really how to follow repeatable processes to help a customer, number one, identify their needs internally and clarify their needs, and then evangelize a solution to meet their needs. And that's a process, and that can be taught. The great thing about it is that you may say, well, I could never be in sales. You would be surprised. I thought that too. Early on in my career, but it's really about listening and strong customer empathy, and really documenting the customer's problems and helping them provide a solution to those problems. And so it's actually a teachable thing. A little fun story. My last company was in their niche, they're famous. They're a small software company, but in their niche, they're famous. But they didn't have any new logos in 3 years prior to me joining. And so they asked me to come on board as their sales manager. Happens to be a VP title, but whatever. I was their sales manager, and I had 7 sales reps. But they had this process where they were kind of living off of their large accounts from the past, and they weren't closing new deals. And so I really taught their team how to do strong discovery instead of just giving away software and giving away trials and giving away free consulting and those kinds of things, which they had done 50, 60 times and not closed a single deal, by the way. So they were trying. But what you do actually does matter in sales, and not just the actual effort. And so I really taught them, basically, how to qualify and how to do discovery, how to use challenger sales methodology to really help a customer understand how to think in new ways about their business. And that worked. And so now they're selling, we sold 6 and 7 figure deals, and they're on a clip even during COVID to continue to sell more, and have sold more new logos even during COVID. Unfortunately, I was affected by COVID though. There were several of us in sales As the sales manager, I was, unfortunately, a more expensive resource. And then, several sales reps were also affected by that. But it was a great experience to go in there and have that, no new logos for 3 years, come in and rebuild the sales process, and now a steady stream of new logos. So that's kind of a little bit longer than 2 minutes probably, but that's kind of a little bit of my recent background.
No, that's great. That's great. So, when you're, put yourself in the recruiter's shoes, when you're looking for top sales talent, what are some of the things that you're looking for in your salespeople that, they're very similar to what you're looking for right now? What are some of the similar things?
Yeah, I kind of put salespeople through a bit of a process. What I really am looking for is some core intelligence, because you do have to be able to understand the software and not, or hardware, whatever you're selling, but also not just understand it, but be able to make that simple to a customer. It was Einstein that said that, one of your, something like this, one of the signs that you understand is that you can actually teach it and make it simpler. So I'm really looking for people who have the ability to, process information well, understand technology, and then explain that in a simple way. Also, core work ethic is a really, really big deal. And that'll actually overcome a lot of things. Work ethic will overcome quite a bit, actually. And then a little bit of humility where they can be taught. I'm there to help them and to make them successful as a sales leader. And so if they have the humility and also the security, where they can receive feedback and receive coaching, then everybody gets to succeed as well. So I think those are, if you can find as a recruiter, if you can find teachability, hard work, and intelligence, that's going to go an awful long way.
Absolutely. So what I think is great, we've got a few people shouting out to Allegra Tasaki, to Pratik Yadav, and of course my friend Jim D'Amico, who's with Celanese. He's a good guy to know, by the way. Brian, I could connect.
I think they're local here. Yeah, I think they're local.
Yeah, they are local.
Yeah.
They're not too far from where you are, but but it's interesting. It's Allegra said, and I forgot I can actually show that. It says, wish I had a good lead for you. You're very skilled. There's so many ways you can contribute to teams. Good nugget about the prospecting and qualifying process. That's great. And that's the purpose of the show, right? So thanks, Allegra. That was really sweet of you to say. She's up in the DC area. So are you wanting to stay in the DFW?
Yeah, so I have 2 daughters, and I'm married. I have a wife down here as well. So I really have to kind of stay in the area due to my kids being in school. And also my wife's parents are getting older and she's starting to take care of them. So there's a few reasons why I have to stay in the DFW area. Super open, as you can imagine, to remote roles. And I've actually done, several remote roles in my past. So I'm more than happy to explore those too. But yeah, I have to stay local.
All right. So let's talk, so I appreciate you kind of sharing some good insight, but I think what I really want to hear is, I think you said when we were talking, and I don't know if you wrote it down, I'm trying to remember it. We were going to put it in your headline of your, I'd recommend you put it up in your headline. I help companies.
Oh yeah. Okay.
What was it? Do you remember what that was?
Yeah, I help companies improve their business. My purpose, it actually comes from a purpose discovery that I had in 2015. And yeah, I didn't add that to my headline yet. But yeah, basically, do you want me to tell the purpose story? It's about 2 more minutes.
Yeah, okay. No, look, man, this is you. Keep going. You're doing great.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, it's a neat story because I think it can help other people think about their purpose as well. I mean, in my case, I've got 2 beloved daughters. And a great wife who have been married for more than 20 years now, and have a great family. So I never really thought and a great career. So I've never really thought about something a little bit deeper, which is purpose, right? But I was attending this speaking series, and they were talking about purpose and how everybody has a purpose, and you should help. You should go look for your purpose. So after that speaking engagement, my wife and I were going to dinner, and we had a really bad experience. And so I went on to Yelp, and I noticed that instead of giving them a bad review and a 1-star and the whole bit, that you normally do, I actually saw that there was a message the manager function. And so I decided, wow, instead of actually flaming them for a terrible experience, I could actually give them the exact situation and the facts so they can actually address it. So I did do that. Didn't give them a 1 star and all that. And they responded to me with a lot of gratitude, and tried to give me the free meal. That didn't work out, and that's fine. That wasn't the point. But that feedback was well received. Later on, I helped my dry cleaners. They had a prime location in South Lake, but their sign was covered up by bushes, and so they were literally blowing their prime location because no one could see that they were there. And so just the sweetest couple runs that. And I just said, hey, you may want to consider trimming your bushes. They've gotten out of control. You're not getting any new foot traffic because no one can see you. You're up on a hill enough that, even though you have a on the street location, no one can see you because your sign is blocked. They were so thankful. You'd be shocked at the response to that. I came by later. They had trimmed. And there's some other examples. So I had attended this series talking a little bit about finding your purpose. And I really found that my purpose was just coming out of my body automatically. And that was that I like to help, identify ways to help people improve their business, which is convenient for sales, if you think about it, which is almost like an ironic, funny thing to say. I mean, you guys are probably laughing, but it is convenient. So I really found that sales for me wasn't just a necessity. Sales for me and sales leadership was an opportunity to fulfill my purpose, to help people improve their business and to help people to sell more. And so, that's my purpose. So what I would encourage you guys to do when you think about your own purpose is to say, what am I kind of doing instinctively? Like, do I find that I'm always teaching people? I love to explain things to people. Or do I find that I love to, give people great experiences around a meal or something? You know what I mean? And there's certain things that speak to you and gravitate to you, and then maybe double down on those. I certainly have. So the last 5 years, I've been leaning into helping people improve their business. Usually that's through sales. Sometimes it's in other ways as well. And that's, of course, it's my story, but I really believe everybody can find that. Michael's doing a great job right now of promoting others. Think about the selflessness of promoting others and helping people find connection and helping people find opportunity, right? So there's some purpose speaking right there in Michael. So I think everybody's got one. And when you double down on that, then you don't have to focus on who you're not, but instead you focus on who you are. And sort of like the life comes with that.
It really does. And thank you for your kind words. I mean, and I think that even there are people that are out there looking, or people that are out there at work that want to try and sell an idea to, whether it be their executive or their manager, or you're a job seeker. We're always talking about, you have to always be selling, right? We always do. Even the introverts have to come out of that shell and have to sell and have to really take the opportunity to have their voices heard. Because to me, a sales process or a good sales process is one where two people are having a conversation and we're both putting our own personal needs to the back and trying to help one another out. That, to me, that's the quintessential definition of sales.
That's good.
Right. Now there are transactional sales. So when I, whether I, buy a baseball or this cool thing, this is the most addictive thing ever. These are all magnetic little tiny balls.
Okay.
Yeah, those are good. That's a good, you gotta, right. You sell a product that's, that's easy. Having a product that's selling is easy. It's the service. It's the intangible stuff. So for you, the IT technology, the services that come along with that, what it's going to take, but really kind of setting those expectations, and then once you know where you're going, you can then sell that more of that intangible product. I mean, do you find it easier to sell something where it's a true product, something they can touch, feel, eat, etc., or do you? I mean, you're a services guy, so I already know what your answer is going to be. But I'll ask you, which do you prefer?
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. My career has been, nothing but software and services. So I do gravitate to that more than to hardware. I would look at those opportunities for sure. And if it spoke to me, deeply, then, for sure, I would definitely explore those types of things. But yeah, you're not wrong. The intangible sale is kind of where I've, just my career has just evolved in that way. And I really like what you said too, as far as like sales is really about having a conversation. And that's really a really outstanding way of saying it. I think what I would say is to facilitate that conversation is that people think, I'm under sales pressure, I'm under quota pressure, or whatever it may be, and I've got to get this sale. And if you take that mindset that you've got to get this sale, people can smell that. And so I like what you said. It's more of a conversation, and there's honesty in that, and there's transparency in that, and there's a willingness to help. So absolutely agree with that. The conversation is really the key. And sales is really about the prospecting process, so you can actually have the conversation, and then navigating that conversation with honesty. And it's weird how integrity has a serious advantage in sales because people can smell the opposite of that. So yeah, I like what you said.
Well, thanks. So yeah, you kind of remember when we were younger and we were not married, and they go, yeah, you can't force all your friends are getting married and you're one of the last two left, and you're out there. You can't force it. You can't force love, just like you can't force someone to buy your product, right?
So
it's got to be about relationship building and understanding and getting to know the folks. And I think one of the first points you brought up is that when we're about to sell something, I would say that a lot of especially when they're under pressure, they go, well, I'm probably not going to get it. I'm probably not going to do it. And there is resiliency. Like when I look for salespeople, I want to see resiliency. I want to talk about the accounts they didn't get, what they learned from it, why they didn't get those accounts.
I like that.
Tell me what they learned from it, and then tell me how they rebounded. Right? But I think too many times, and you could say the same for job seekers. The job seekers do this too. They go, oh, well, this is a perfect example. Holidays are coming up. Nobody's looking. Okay, really? Did people turn off the faucets and pull down all their ads like they did back in March? No. Those positions are still out there. Will it take a little bit of time for them maybe to get back to you because they might be out the week of Thanksgiving, or they may be out the last 2 weeks of the year? Yeah. But it doesn't mean they're not going to call you. It doesn't mean you should give up and not look. I think that you should be looking, and I told you this last week, I don't think you should stop. Will it take a little bit longer? Sure it will. But be resilient and be okay with that. Know that the processes are taking longer. So I guess, have you been on any recent, you don't have to name the companies, but have you been on any recent interviews lately? What are you seeing out there right now?
Yeah, I'm kind of a natural hunter, natural prospector. I can do account management. I can run account management teams. I've run two actually. But I gravitate to new business and just sort of matching needs. So because of that, I'm kind of blessed because I have a hunting personality. So I have a pipeline of opportunities. But what I've also learned is that, I've been to the very final stage, 3 times, maybe 4 times, and something has happened. In one case, like just last Friday, I found out where I was basically, the person for the role, and the CEO brought in a friend. I can't fault them. They know this person, and so, hopefully that'll go well for them. And in another case, I was a finalist, and they replaced the CEO the week that I was, in the very final week of my process. And I was the only one they were looking at. They fast tracked me because of how, frankly, kind of how I found them and how I prospected them. So yeah, I do have a pipeline, of opportunities, but I've learned through near misses like that I've got to keep prospecting. And that's a good lesson for life and for sales, is always be developing. Don't just be closing, or else you're going to regret it when the 2 things that you thought were closing, and this is for sales, not just recruiting, fell through. So you better be developing on the back end. So yeah, I would agree with you. Don't stop because of the holidays. Work harder. I mean, give yourself a day off. Lately I've been trying to take Sunday off. So I think you do want to do that, because I tell my wife, Jamie, I've kind of had it with, job searching today. I need to unplug. So I think that's important, but I would agree. why would you stop? Think about it this way. It's funny about life is that a lot of times the opposite is true. So to kind of defend your position of keeping, looking for a job during the holidays, there's actually less volume. So your voice is louder and your light is brighter because there's fewer lights and there's fewer voices. So it's funny how in sales, sometimes the opposite approaches are actually the divergent thinking that you need. So well said on your part. Definitely keep going during the holidays.
What are you running to any, what roadblocks are you running into that may be causing some cause of frustration? What are some of the things that you're running into that I'm sure quite a lot of other people are running into, but just want to ask?
Well, in sales leadership, there's fewer positions than there are salespeople. So I keep getting tempted to interview for salesperson positions, especially if it's a really interesting company, because I'm kind of a nerd. And so if it's really cool, there's this one company that does social monitoring. So they monitor globally. Anytime you're mentioned, it's like a social media monitoring and web monitoring. That's really cool. But it's an individual contributor role, and I'm trying to stay true to who I am. And I'm a sales coach. And so I'm really trying to stay, and just discipline myself and say, yes, this is out here, but I'm staying on mission. I'm going to be, I'm going to be back into sales management, which has been the focus. And it's it's been how I've been able to help. So yeah, I've run into roadblocks like that, which is temptations to settle. And of course there's a balance because you don't want to be too picky either. So there is a balance. I admit it. At some point you need to take a job. So that's more than fair. But yeah, you run into temptations of saying, well, I could do this, or I could just do that. And yeah, you could just do that, or triple your work, your work ethic, and find 4 more at the level that you're trying to be at and that you need to be at, and keep trying. And so, yeah, that's one of the barriers is the temptation to settle. I think also, I needed a network of encouragement because, during COVID especially, there's fewer roles, let alone fewer sales management roles because you're just in a different, smaller group. And so I've had, 3 or 4 times I've had groups of people, that have, encouraged me and, spoken with me or prayed with me. And so, yeah, I think you want to make sure you have a network of people that you can talk to as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What, let's talk about routine for a little bit. So like, what's your routine? How frequently are you on the net applying for jobs versus networking versus, taking a break? Because I do think, I even think 6 days is a lot to be doing a job search. And I think you need to give yourself one more day of because otherwise you're going to go. The positions, one of the things I've noticed that the number of positions that are out there have slowed down tremendously given this week and given the increase in COVID cases. So, but walk us through your routine and of how you kind of get ready each week to tackle.
Awesome. Well, one of the big lifesavers. Okay, sorry, it cut out there. Thank you. So I do have some secrets actually. So I'll talk about the job boards first. You're going to apply to 40 positions and you'll get, maybe 1 response back is what I'm seeing because there's 100 to 200 people applying for, many of the roles. And so that's okay. When you decide to apply for those, take a couple of days. For me, it's been every 2 or every 3 weeks. I'll take 2 full days and I'll apply for 100 things or whatever. And then I'll get like 2 or 3 responses from that. So which is actually a worse ratio than I said a minute ago. And that's probably more accurate. So that that's an approach. But what I've done a little bit more of is I've been developing relationships with people that are in talent and recruiting. And I have put them in a database. So there's a free version of HubSpot that I looked for Salesforce. They don't have a free version, but HubSpot did. And so I've been just, networking and getting to know people and adding people into HubSpot. And then I'm tracking notes with HubSpot, tracking calls, scheduling meetings through that. HubSpot will also track when people will open your email so you can see that you're getting engagement on when you send them a resume or whatever it may be. And then I have a cadence where every several days, let's say every 7 or 8 days, whatever, they will get another message from me in a series of messages that I pre-wrote. And so it's a sequence type approach, which is very much the world of sales today. So they're personalized messages, but they're pre-written, and then they're sent to them every several days, basically. So I have quite a large network of recruiters that I am now following up with on a regular basis. In my regular touch points, I offer a call if they would like to qualify me more. And as part of that, sort of that sequence or that cadence, everybody also gets a social touch from me. So I'll go oftentimes look at their profile. So that'll create a little heads up for them. And then I will also send them a little in-mail from time to time as well. So there's a discipline to that. And I feel like, using the recruiter network is great. It's a win-win. They get a commission and they appreciate the follow-up. Don't follow up too much, but they appreciate reminding, them that you're there and giving updates and all of that. So that's how I would encourage people to prepare is use a CRM. Excel will fail you. Google Sheets will fail you. It won't alert you when you're supposed to call. It won't track history well at all. It's terrible. So HubSpot free version is a great way to be organized in your job search. And there's lots of little goodies in there that will make your job easier. So that's a lifesaver for me. And then I do the regular follow-up.
Nice. How are you finding the candidate experience on your behalf personally?
It's not positive for the most part. I've had 2 people out of all the rejections offer me feedback. 1 or 2 people. Let's just say 2 though. So that would have been nice a little bit more often. A lot of them, you apply and they never get back to you one way or the other. I've had people like the one that I should have, closed out on that I found out last Friday that they are hiring the CEO. They let me go like 2 weeks with no response, to my infrequent touching base. And they also didn't follow up with me. So people will ghost you. It's surprising. So yeah, just the fact that people will ghost you, which just means go silent on you after you've invested, sometimes 3 or 4 hours. Last night for one company, spent, close to 4 hours studying their product for a call today at 2:00. And so, it's surprising how people will ghost you. So the candidate experience has been negative, and that's kind of why you need that friend network so that, every 3 or 4 weeks, whatever you need, you may need it more often. Sometimes I have too. But from time to time, you can have that network kind of, encourage you and whatnot, because the candidate experience has not been great. And people are certainly not following the golden rule of treating people how they'd like to be treated.
Pretty much. And I think you're experiencing with other people, and I agree. It's good to have a support network. Overall, what's that perfect job that you want?
Well, I'm really looking to manage a sales team in the software and SaaS space. It can be cybersecurity, it can be infrastructure monitoring, application monitoring, analytics, big data. I'm very interested in IoT. Robotics would be very interesting. So anything that's pretty technical in the software and SaaS space would be great. Managing a sales team. I would like to report as high as possible because I don't want layers. There's a job that I'm looking at right now that I would be reporting, and it would be like 2 layers before I even got to the SVP with an idea. And so that's kind of not real attractive. I may do it because I love the technology and I love the frontline, VP manager that I'd be reporting to because it's an RD. I will look at RD roles for sure. So I like him a lot and I love the technology. So I'll look at those deals, but I'm really looking to report a little higher is if I can, just because I don't want layers of approval because I like to move fast. I like to break eggs and really make a difference. And that's how I was able to, in my last company, because I was not hindered, help them from having no new logos in 3 years to selling into some massive accounts like credit card companies, very recognizable banks, very recognizable insurance companies, hospital systems. I taught them how to do that. And I had the authority to buy tools and to redesign sales processes, which was the big deal. So yeah, I'm looking to have some authority not because I I'm important, but because I want to make a difference. Because again, it goes back to my purpose, helping people to improve their business.
Yeah, and so it's interesting. You in your about section of LinkedIn, actually, you and I share our top strength.
Oh yeah.
Responsibility. We all have this. You and I have this yearning to make sure that what we say we're going to do, and that we take care of people along the way, because we actually do kind of give a shit.
Yeah.
It's kind of way. It's just, pardon my French, but that's just the way it is, right?
Yeah.
My friend Jim D'Amico says he loves your disciplined approach to your job search.
Oh,
absolutely,
great.
yeah. So, I mean, you are one of the, when I get my clients, they're like, oh, I don't know what to do, but I mean, that's why they're coming to me. You have this, this great sense of confidence about you, but isn't that what sales is? It's about being confident, right? Right. And positivity is your third strength. So.
Yeah, I mean, I love. You may have seen my facial expression change just a little bit when you said, that you actually care. And it's funny. At that, you probably saw my face change just for a second there because you hit me, you got me. And because I do agree with you. I do also care about my customers and my sales teams. So I love that you have that as well, and that's cool. Like now, of course, I'm going to go lurk and read yours, and I can't wait. It's interesting. The Strength Finders has been nice for me because it helps you. And I actually had everybody in my last company take that, and we framed it. I'll show you my frame. This is the frames. Everybody got to have their top 5 strengths. Can you see that pretty well?
Yeah.
On their desk. And then when I would go talk to my reps, and I did have a couple of remote reps actually, but some were in the office, I would actually sort of try to relate to them through their strengths. Why? Because I'm not interested in what you're weak at. We are blessed.
Oh, well, I accidentally kicked him out. Hold on. Sorry.
Okay.
There he is. Sorry about that, man.
Cool. Yeah, no, it's good.
Just as you're getting to your point.
Oh, it's great. No, it's good. We'll shake it up a little bit. But yeah, so, with Strength Finders, it's great because you go online, it's maybe $20. You take this test, it takes 30 minutes, however long it takes. And it tells you, what your top 5 strengths are. And if you want to pay more, you can get all your 38 strengths. I just did my top 5, but I had my whole sales team and some administrative staff take this, and I framed it and put it on their desk so that I could relate to them in our day-to-day business through their strengths and not their weaknesses. So when I was talking to Quentin, for example, who I adore, he was a younger sales rep who had some experience, but not a decade or anything. And I noticed that his top strength on his framed, Strength Finders was futuristic. And it was awesome because I said, now let's think about your gift, not what you're not good at. Let's think about your gift in the light of working with this customer on this deal, and how can we help them, tapping into your futuristic, walk them into the future about what'll happen if they can solve this business problem that we're trying to help them with. And it was so exciting and he started unpacking that in his sales life. And so that's why you love, you kind of nerded me out there. It's your fault. Getting into the strengths, but yeah, I do love Strength Finders, and I love to coach and mentor sales teams based on their strengths and sort of leverage what they're great at.
Would you be open to doing that on a contract basis too? Maybe. Why not? You should, because here's why.
Okay.
In the interim, you have money coming in.
Yeah.
But there might be teams that you can go in and coach and mentor sales teams on as a side hustle until you find the business.
Yeah.
And I think there's a need for that. And of course, everybody, at the spin selling, how many different approaches are there?
There's so many, yeah. Medic and Sandler, right. And yeah.
But what it boils down to is, okay, we all know about the consultative sale and we know how to do it, right? But in the end, if you don't realize what you bring to the table, and your top 5 strengths are responsibility, connectedness, positivity, belief, and discipline, that tells me you're somebody that a company needs. Because Belief is my number 5.
Oh, cool. So we're truly cousins. Yeah,
and
several there.
connectedness, I think, is number 3 or 4 for me. But
Wow.
it's even though people don't see me as a salesperson, I say, well, I don't love sales. I'm a salesperson. And especially my video production capabilities are spot on. So when I boot you out of the
Hi, you've been doing great. I appreciate you.
Yeah, no. So, but what I've also done, and you and I were kind of talking about this, is the UMAP, right? So the UMAP is more also, not only does it look at your 5 strengths, but it also looks at your values, and it looks at your skills, and really allows you to kind of come together as a whole person, which is great.
That's great.
But as we wrap up here, tell me, why should companies hire you?
Well, I really do. So, you mentioned my number 1 strength is responsibility. The number 5, which is a good thing, and it almost goes without explanation. Number 5, discipline, is actually something that you'll see very much in operation in me. What discipline is it's not like, oh, it's working hard and discipline. I'm sure it can have a flavor of that. But what discipline actually means in Strengths Finders is that you tend to turn everything into a process. And so that really is what I do. For example, if something happens in my sales team or with a customer more than 2 or 3 times, I'm taking note of that and thinking about, do we need to address that as a process? And so what you'll find is that you have this kind of snowball effect. If you continue to identify issues that are small, and then you add more issues to them, and you keep addressing all of these small issues, it becomes this pretty large snowball rolling downhill to really affect big change over time. So what I would encourage people to do is not despise the day of small beginnings, because you'll find that if you come into a sales organization with a lot of observation and listening, and you start addressing things and working on the things that are sort of like repeating themselves, you'll find some good success. So that's what I do. So why should a company hire me? It's because I'm going to come in and improve their sales process. Like I said, my last company, a famous software company in their niche, no new logos in 3 years, started selling new logos. How? Because I was very hands-on, working with the sales reps, teaching them, observing, and turning the snowball effect, from very, very small into a big effect later on. And again, they're still selling through COVID. So that's kind of why, I'm going to be a bottom-up sales manager. If you want me to come on board and as a second level manager and teach your managers how to coach, that's great. If you want me to come on and it's a strategic sales management role, but it's a front line where I directly manage reps, that's great. I'm a natural coach. I love my reps, and I will make them successful. I'll give you one more commercial and then I'll flip it back to you. Why should they hire me? I find that a lot of sales managers are good at reporting and tracking and forecasting, but they're not super great at developing repeatable ideas and programs. And what I try to do, again, because of that discipline, that number 5 of my strengths, is I try to find things that work a little bit and then do them a lot. I'll give you an example. So we had this thing, and actually I shouldn't give away my secrets here, but we sent cookies to all these companies that we had very little, either no contact with, or they were quiet or whatever. We had 80% of people take meetings with us after getting cookies. It was just like a little note, and whoever the local, I think we have Tiff's Treats around here. We use them. In Florida, I use somebody else. But that was an approach. So micro experiments in sales and then repeat what works. But I had some incredible names take meetings with us. And another idea that we did was I had my BDRs calling out and emailing out and offering $15 Amazon gift card for 15 minutes. 15 for 15. It's shocking the names that took meetings for that. So there's a lot of ideas that I've done that when they work a little bit, we turn them into a program. And so if you bring me on board to your company as a sales manager, you'll find that we're going to do micro experiments and we're going to kill what doesn't work. We're going to replicate what does work. A lot of hands-on coaching and everything, about turning into an engine that's repeatable.
I think that's a hell of a sales statement. I love it. I love it. And I wouldn't expect anything less from you as a salesperson. You know who really likes cookies? Jim D'Amico.
Okay.
You got to send him like some chocolate chip cookies or something.
Okay.
It's probably half the chocolate chip cookies actually made from some Celanese product, chemical product. You know, I don't know.
Maybe so.
I'm waiting for his quick quip here, but he may have decided to go have lunch or go get a cookie. But no, seriously, that is a great sales salesman. If you guys need to want to get in touch with Mr. Howard, get in touch with him with LinkedIn. He's always on there, so he'll definitely respond to you. If you want to bring connections to life, do it. If you're interested, you're a job seeker or you're a recruiter and you want to be on this show, I'd love to have you come on board and share your talent story. If you're a recruiter and you've got a bunch of different positions that you really want to get the word out, I'd welcome recruiters on the show as well. So, Brian, thanks for being a guest today. I appreciate it.
Enjoy it. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So if you could hang on here just a second after I end the show. But everybody stay tuned. We'll be back next Tuesday with a LinkedIn Live lunch happy hour. And then I'm going to have a special happy hour next Thursday. So I won't be doing this. So I have a couple of weeks to find more talent. So Brian, if you think of people that you think would be good or anybody listening think you'd be good, tag them. I do speak the truth. Jim said I speak the truth. Pratik says he already wants to be on the show. So Pratik, DM me on LinkedIn. Let's connect and see what we can do. I'd love to have Allegra on there. And of course, D'Amico, you're always welcome. You're always a hoot to talk with. And hey, you got positions, right? So hopefully I'll call you. I'll call you later on that one. But thanks, everybody. Hey, this has been a great week. I know it's been anxious for a lot of people, for me included. Hopefully we have some answers, though. I heard Allegheny County said they were hanging it up today, and they'll get back to work on it tomorrow morning to finish their count in their region, which I thought was a little surprising. They must be worried about the Cowboys-Steelers game. That's got to be it, right? The amazing crush they're going to put on us here in Dallas. So everybody, thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoy the rest of your week. Try to keep it stress-free. Hope we're on to better and bigger things nationally and overall. And I appreciate you taking the time to tune in. And we'll see you next time.